Uthvlog Molbrut, the Dragon Hammer. The Dragon Hammer is a massive dwarvish revolving mobile artillery piece designed to put a 1,000-pound throwing axe down a dragon's gullet at 1,000 yards. It is crewed by 2 dwarven siege engineers along with 2 royal ogre masters and their cadre of ogre slaves to assist with the heavy lifting. Locomotion is provided by 4 huge stone golems specially crafted for the tasks of carrying the structure and repelling any would-be boarders. While its primary purpose is the unceremonious destruction of very large and ferocious beasts, it can be deployed for siege warfare, castle defense, or simply showing other dwarven kingdoms how terribly wealthy you are. Hello. Today we've got ourselves a lovely little piece of what I'm going to call concept illustration. This is a piece that I did just over a year ago, about 13 months. And as you saw in the original full image right there at the beginning of this video, it's very densely packed and there's a lot going on. So I just figured it deserved a full-on video breakdown. So here we go, starting off with our chiefest and grandest character in our little merry band. We've got our lead engineer. Obviously, you know, as the name implies, he's the big boss of the operation. As you can see, he's got his sort of control devices in front of him. He's got a little squawk box that leads down that brass pipe, and which you'll see a little bit later goes down below deck so he can yell orders. He's got his little eyepiece that goes out to his telescopic sort of scope for aiming, and the most important thing of all, his firing a lever there that he can pull when he's good and damn ready. He's also in his little bucket there. He's got his store of little potions of giant strength that he will toss over to our next character, our Coxman ogre slave. Yes, the Coxman. Why Coxman? Well, I couldn't think of anything better, and it sounds funny. So there he is in all his muscly glory. And yes, even despite his massive strength, in order for him to heave back those 4 massive spring steel bow limbs, he does need a little extra boost from the potions of giant strength periodically given him by the lead engineer. Moving forward a bit, we've got, if you look on the actual device itself, you'll see a little secondary or deputy engineer working away doing his engineering things. And of course below him, down by the base of the sort of swivel arm, is our royal ogre master. He's one of 2. You can see him sitting there smoking a pipe, having a grand old time, just kind of observing, making sure none of the ogres get out of line, and if they do, he's got his big old hook halberd device. And then there on his hat, you can kind of see the symbol of his trade. He is a slave master, as sort of dark a subject as that is. In the world of Dungeons and Dragons, there's a lot of dark shit, including certain races enslaving other races, and in this case, dwarves enslaving ogres. Get over it. So moving a little bit forward of that, we see our ogre who's revolving the entire sort of throwing assembly. He's very important to the operation of the weapon, and he seems to have gotten hot and either removed or lost his loincloth, which is fantastic. Looking sexy. And then as we move down below decks, we can see our loader ogre. He is the guy who replenishes the ammo into the throwing arms that come down off of the rotation there, empty and ready for a new axe to be applied. The throwing arms that, when they're empty, can sink down into a slit. You can see the light kind of coming through the slit in the deck there illuminating the racks in the background. So the empty arms will come down and that ogre will slap in a new axe. And moving backward from there, we come upon our rotator ogre slaves. Another kind of stupid sounding name, but I couldn't think of anything better. These guys, a couple of burly lads, there's 4 of them in total, and they're in charge of rotating the entire device. It's a big job. They do it. They're pushing, they're grunting, they're sweating, and as you can see, beefing right in each other's faces just for the fun of it. And as we move further aft, we come across our elevation crank operator ogre there. He basically just stands on a little platform that's connected to the upper deck. Same with the axe racks, the ammunition racks. Everything's connected to that upper deck because as those rotator guys push around, everything rotates along with it, including the axe racks and the elevation crank, of course, because they all have to be in line for the whole device to work. A little bit farther back, we see our second ogre master coming out of the crew quarters, where our 4 illustrious crew members take their respite. You've got your 4 beds and, of course, several giant barrels of the finest ale this side of the fuckity-fuck mountains. A little farther back from that, we see our little stovepipe and the banner of whatever royal house these dwarves hail from. And then we go down below that all, and we see our bearer golems. These guys are fantastic. Now there's actually 4 of them in total, but we only see the 2 because of the profile. Basically, these guys, they're the wheels. They move the thing around hither and dither wherever they're commanded to go. As you can see, the axes they're holding are the same as the ammunition, so in the unfortunate event that we run out of ammo, we've got 4 spare rounds there. And of course, these big bastards can wield them and smack off any bastards who would try to assail from the ground, which seems like a terrible idea. A couple little details. You can see the little runes on their shoulders. It just represents 1, 2, 3, and 4. I thought that was kind of neat. And as a little bit of decorative unity, you can see that their headgear is basically the same thing, or it is identical to the figurehead piece on the actual weapon itself, which I thought was kind of neat. So moving on from there, we have our sort of mechanical breakdown of the actual weapon itself. So that first image there, central gear rack is engaged with the throwing arm cogs to enable throwing action. So essentially this thing works in quarter turns. Every time you turn it a quarter turn, the gears, as you can see on that red and blue little schematic there, the gears will either be engaged or disengaged. When they're disengaged, it enables the coxswain there to crank back those bow limbs and that sort of gear rack that looks like the head is spitting out his jaw or sticking his tongue out, whatever, with his little beard on the end of it. He'll crank that back when those gears are disengaged, which is represented by that second image. Central gear rack is disengaged from cogs to enable cocking action. Cranks it back. The guy below will turn the entire assembly another quarter turn, re-engaging the gears, at which point the lead engineer can loose one of the axes and devastate whatever target he's throwing it at. So that's kind of how that works. And then of course, a little further down, you see below the red and blue schematic, empty throwing arm is lowered into slot in the rotating portion of the deck between the axe racks in order to be reloaded by the loader ogre. So when that round comes out and the empty throwing arm makes its way all the way down to the bottom of the cycle, it'll be lowered into that slit in the deck, reloaded, and put back into rotation. And then the very bottom there image, we can see our top down, which is of course, you've got your 4 golems on each corner. We've got you can see the overall shape of the entire device. You can see the axe racks on the front there and the loading slit between. Again, that all rotates along with that circular portion of the deck. Further back, you see the central post, which is those rotator ogres pushing. Behind that, the elevation crank. Again, that is integral, so it rotates along with everything. And behind that, the crew quarters again. So there you have it. The mighty Uthvlog Molbrut, the Dragon Hammer, the fiercest weaponry known to dwarf kind. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a grand time making this. I'm very proud of it. In fact, it might be my favorite thing I've ever created. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. And if you ever end up getting inspired and using this thing in a D&D campaign or anything like that, hit me up and let me know, because I'd love to hear about it. I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks again.